So let's talk about listening, shall we? It's very important, not just in this class, but in all your classes. Right now, as a student, much of your day is spent listening. It's important to understand because as a speaker, you're presenting information. You want to know the ways that you can engage listeners to be more effective in what you're saying, but also listening, you want to develop that skill that you can. It sounds weird to say. It's like, yeah, I'm listening to something. I get it. But there's different levels to it. And it's a huge part of communication, the listening process. So we have hearing and we have listening. Anybody can hear what's going on. You don't even necessarily have to be human to listen or hear what's going on, but to listen specifically, and not just hear, you have to comprehend and make sense of those sound waves that are traveling through the air, and you're making constructive rationale out of them. So big difference. Sound waves moving, your ear picks it up, hearing. Listening is when those sounds, you make sense of them, whatever they might be. We have a different kind of way of looking at this in terms of a pyramid, right? So hearing, we're sensing something, those sound waves that are traveling, then we're paying attention to them, we're understanding them, we're comprehending what's the information coming at us, we're evaluating and analyzing it. So we're being able to take it through a more critical process of that understanding through evaluation. We're being able to place it in the hierarchy of importance that it is to us that the information is coming in. Maybe it's something we question, maybe it's something we have to think deeper about. But then we respond to that information that we have listened to. So, in the course of the day, your brain is constantly going through these waves of how far is the information coming at me? How far do I have to pay attention to this? And of course, as students, you're at a stage where you're needing to pay extra close attention to what's the information coming at you. You're having to understand it, you're having to evaluate it, and you're having to respond to it. It puts your brain in a heightened sense of needing to absorb this information in a much bigger way than a lot of the rest of your life is right now. So, being aware of how you're taking in this information becomes really important. So, are there barriers to listening? Uh, when somebody is talking, is there a different thought or speech difference? Do they talk slower or faster than we can comprehend? Maybe they're coming at it from a different language, things like that. Is there any kind of barrier to us not being able to listen to them? Maybe we have a short attention span. Certainly, I think having things like um, smartphones that are beck and call are distracting enough to take us away. And then maybe just in general, we have some bad listening habits that we don't fully commit to engaging in what we're hearing so that we're going up from just hearing to understanding to analyzing. Some bad listening habits could include lazy listening. You're just not paying attention. And I know, especially in a course like this, where it's online, it makes sense because you're not engaged in a classroom to have whatever's going on in your room, dorm, or whatever, maybe kind of take away your attention. Maybe you feel like you can be doing something else while you're listening. Self centered listening, that is to say, somebody is up giving a speech. We're not taking the time to understand they've put effort, time, and energy into this. They deserve my listening skills right now, my attention. Am I an impatient listener? Am I ready for this to be done? Am I ready for it to be over? Yeah, I'm listening, but I don't really care. Maybe even it's defensive listening. This is a big one. If I know somebody speaking maybe doesn't align with me politically, religiously, maybe when we get to persuasive speeches, they're talking on a topic that really gets me kind of agitated, gets me upset. So I am immediately putting up these barriers to go from hearing to understanding. Maybe I am multitasking. I'm trying to do a billion things at once. I know I'm like this if I'm on the phone sometimes, as I'm trying to cook or do something else while I'm talking to a family or friend, and I'm not giving them my full attention. Therefore, I'm not um, absorbing everything that they say. So I'm not working on good listening habits by doing that. So, ways we can work on this is simply to focus on the speaker. We have to almost tell ourselves, I am going to focus 100% on what's being said. I know sometimes, especially when I was younger, going to church, hearing the gospels being read, something like that, I had to tell myself I'm really going to focus on the speaker right now. I'm going to make sure that what my mind is focused on right now is listening. The other thing is keeping an open mind to what's being said. We talked in the beginning about a sender and a receiver, and the receiver sends back information to the sender. It's kind of the cyclical thing. Keeping an open mind to what they have to say helps you as well, because that's you allowing yourself the opportunity to take in the information by saying, I'm going to be an open mind and hear them out and hear what they have to say. Your mind is expanding itself on taking in that information and then providing appropriate feedback. So saying things like, I heard you say da 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 da, so repeating what is being said. And then the body posture, how much of communication is nonverbal. And I know sometimes now with us being on camera, we can't always get that body language, but even just doing something like leaning forward, sitting up, asking questions, nodding as they're talking, and taking notes. That's all things we can do to improve that that then allow the whoever's sending the information to us to know that they have us engaged, kind of in a roundabout way strengthens them as they're providing information to you, but makes you a better listener so you're able to make sense of what is being told to you. So we have levels of listening. Listening for information. That's something you do all the time as a student. You're listening right now. You're listening to your professor's lecture later on today, or whenever it is. You're taking in that information. Then you listen to analyze or evaluate. This is also critical listening. And this is where you make a decision or a judgment based on what you hear. The next level is the empathetic or therapeutic listening, which is the emotions of a speaker and how we respond to them. We can do things like repeat what was said, and we can ask questions. So we're kind of seeing things from their point of view, right? So more emotional of a situation. But there's kind of the different levels of where we're, information, we're making a critical decision, or we're empathizing with the speaker. So just things to be thinking about going forward as you're listening to the speeches that are given. Well, along with listening comes the critique. And critiquing someone is kind of hard to do because we often equate critiquing with criticism. And critiquing can be kind of hard because you want to give an honest assessment. You want to tell people where they can improve, how they can improve. But you also want to provide what they did well with. When they're speaking and you're providing feedback for them, you want to let them know what they did well and what they can improve upon. Criticism is a tearing down. It is only focusing on the negatives without keeping in mind the positives that go along with it. For the listening and critiquing, I want to make sure that you do all your reading for this section. Take a look specifically at techniques for giving effective feedback in the module, and you'll learn some skills and some tools that you can apply towards this class when critiquing and when you're being critiqued.